Wait, he signed it over, but Marcus says it was never his. So what did they actually file?
We signed your company over to your brother. He's the only son. The words land across the conference table like a verdict. I'm standing there, frozen in my own office, my name still on the glass walls, my team just outside, completely unaware of what my father just did. I built this company from nothing. Every contract, every sleepless night, every risk mine. And now my brother is leaning back in my chair like it was always his, smiling like he already owns everything I created. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. I don't argue, I don't raise my voice, I just turn my head slowly and look at my fiancé, because he's the only one in the room who isn't surprised. He stands up, calm, focused, reaches into his pocket, pulls out his phone, and says, "Do you want me to explain? Or should I?" The room shifts. It's subtle, but I see it. My father's jaw tightens just enough to break that calm, controlled image he's been holding since he walked in. Daniel straightens in the chair, my chair, his fingers gripping the armrest, like he suddenly needs something solid to hold on to. Marcus doesn't look at either of them right away. He looks at me, just for a second, long enough that I understand something without a single word being said. He was waiting for this. A slow, deliberate breath leaves my chest. The kind you take when you realize the moment you feared already happened, and somehow you're still standing in it. "Marcus," my father says, his voice measured again, but sharper now. "This is a family matter." Marcus finally turns. "No," he replies evenly. "It stopped being that the second you tried to rewrite ownership law with a signature you didn't have the authority to make." The words don't hit loud. They hit precise. Daniel scoffs, leaning forward like he's trying to reclaim control. "You don't even know what you're talking about. The paperwork's filed. It's done." Marcus tilts his head slightly. Not amused, not angry, just certain. "That's the problem," he says. "You think filing something makes it real." My pulse starts to pick up, not from panic, but from something else. Something unfamiliar in this room. Momentum. Because for the first time since my father walked in and dropped those papers in front of me, someone isn't talking over me. They're pushing back. I glance down at the document still sitting on the table. My name is there. The company name is there. Signatures, dates. Everything looks clean, official, final. That's what made it so suffocating when he said it. It's already done. "You had no right," I say quietly, my voice steady in a way that surprises even me. My father looks at me like I've just interrupted something trivial. "I had every right. That company exists because of this family, because of me." "No," I reply, meeting his eyes, "it exists because I built it." There's a flicker irritation, maybe, but it disappears just as fast. "This isn't about effort," he says. "It's about legacy, stability, continuity." Daniel smirks again, recovering. "Yeah, and let's be honest, you were never going to run this long term." The words hang there, dismissive, casual, like everything I've done is just temporary, like I was. I feel it then, the weight of it all pressing in. Every late night, every deal I had to fight twice as hard to close. Every time I was underestimated and proved them wrong. And none of that mattered in this room, because in their eyes, I was never the heir. Just the placeholder. Marcus steps closer to the table, placing his phone down in front of him, but not activating it yet. "You keep saying it's done," he says, looking directly at my father now. "So let's walk through that." My father folds his arms. "There's nothing to walk through." "There is," Marcus replies. "Because for something to be done, it has to be valid." Daniel lets out a short laugh. "You think we didn't check that?" Marcus finally taps his phone, The screen lights up, but he doesn't turn it toward them yet. I think, he says calmly, you checked just enough to feel confident. That confidence starts to crack. I can see it. Not fully. Not yet. But it's there in the way Daniel's leg starts bouncing under the table, in the way my father's eyes flicker, calculating. What exactly are you implying? My father asks. Marcus doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he picks up the top document, the one with the transfer details, and holds it between his fingers like it's something fragile or dangerous. I'm not implying anything, he says. He flips to the signature page, runs his finger along the line where my father signed, then looks up. I'm asking a very simple question. The room goes still. Even the noise from outside the glass walls feels distant now. My breath catches without me realizing it. Marcus turns the phone slowly, just enough that the glow reflects faintly across the table, but not enough for them to see the screen. Before you filed this, he says, his voice dropping just slightly, did you verify who actually had the authority to transfer ownership? Daniel's smirk disappears completely. My father doesn't answer. And for the first time since this started, neither of them look certain. I should have seen it coming. That's the first thought that hits me as the silence stretches across the room, thick, uncomfortable, different now, not the controlled silence my father walked in with, but something unstable, something slipping. A few hours earlier, none of this had felt real yet. It started with a message. Be in the main office at noon. Family meeting. No explanation. No context. That alone should have been enough to set alarms off. My father doesn't call meetings. He makes decisions and informs people after. But something about the wording family meeting felt deliberate. Like, whatever this was, it wasn't just business. I remember standing in my kitchen, staring at the message, my coffee going cold in my hand. Marcus noticed immediately. What is it? He asked. I showed him the phone. He didn't react right away. Just read it once, then again. That's not normal, he said. I know. You're still going? I gave a small, humorless smile. If I don't, he'll just show up here instead. Marcus leaned against the counter, arms crossed, thinking in that quiet way he does when something doesn't sit right with him. Elena, he said after a moment, if this is about the company, it's always about the company, I cut in. And that was the truth. Every conversation with my father eventually circled back to it. Not because he built it, not because he ran it, but because in his mind it belonged to him long before it ever existed, simply because I did. Marcus didn't argue. He just nodded once, but I could tell he wasn't convinced. Just don't walk in there assuming it's a conversation, he said. That stuck with me more than I expected. And then I walked into my own office and immediately knew something was wrong. Daniel was already there, sitting at the conference table like he'd been waiting. That alone was unusual. My brother doesn't show up early for anything. Not meetings, not deadlines, not responsibilities. But there he was, relaxed, leaning back, scrolling through his phone like he belonged there, like he owned the space. You're early, I said, setting my bag down slowly. He glanced up, gave me a lazy smile. Didn't want to miss this. Something about the way he said it made my stomach tighten. Miss what? But he just shrugged. You'll see. That was the first red flag. The second came 2 minutes later when my father walked in already holding a folder. No greeting, no small talk, just presence. He placed the folder on the table with quiet precision and took a seat at the head, his usual spot, even in a company that wasn't his. We'll keep this efficient, he said. Efficient. Not discussion. Not meeting. Decision. I stayed standing for a second longer than necessary, watching him, trying to read something in his expression, but there was nothing there. Just that same controlled calm he uses when he's already decided the outcome. I sat down slowly. Marcus arrived just after taking the seat beside me. He didn't say much, just gave me a quick look, a subtle check-in. I nodded once. At the time, I thought I understood what was happening. I thought this was going to be pressure, an attempt to push Daniel into a leadership role. My father had tried before subtle suggestions, forced collaborations, conversations about expanding the leadership structure. I always pushed back because Daniel didn't build this. He didn't understand it. And more importantly, he didn't respect it. But this felt different. There was no build-up, no argument, just execution. My father opened the folder and slid a stack of papers across the table toward me. "Review these," he said. I didn't touch them immediately. "What is this?" I asked. "Transition documents." The words didn't make sense at first. Transition to what? Daniel chuckled under his breath, like he was enjoying a joke I wasn't part of. My father didn't look at him. "Ownership," he said simply. That was the moment something in my chest tightened. Not panic. Recognition. Like a puzzle piece snapping into place in the worst possible way. "That's not possible," I said. "It is," he replied, "and it's already been executed." Executed. Not proposed. Not pending. Done. I finally reached for the papers then, flipping through them faster than I could process, scanning for something, anything that explained how this could even happen. Everything looked legitimate, structured, filed, finalized, and Daniel just watched me, not nervous, not uncertain, confident, like he'd already stepped into a role he had no business holding. I looked back up at my father. "You didn't have the authority to do this." He met my gaze without hesitation. I had every authority I needed. That was the moment the room shifted from tense to unreal, because either he was lying or I had missed something massive. And sitting next to me, completely still, Marcus hadn't said a word yet. Not when the documents came out, not when the claim was made, not even when my father declared it was already done. He just watched, observed, waited. And I remember thinking, just for a second, why isn't he reacting? Now, standing here in the aftermath of that statement, watching my father hesitate under a single question, I finally understand. He wasn't surprised. He was waiting for them to say it out loud, so they couldn't take it back. Marcus leans forward slightly, his voice calm, but now unmistakably sharper. "Because if you didn't verify that," he says, he taps his phone once, and this time he turns the screen toward them. "Then you just filed something you legally can't undo." The moment the screen turns, everything changes. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough. Marcus doesn't rush it. He angles the phone so both my father and Daniel can see it clearly, but not me. Not yet. I watch their faces instead. That tells me more. At first, Daniel leans forward like he's about to dismiss it, like this is just another bluff he can laugh off. But then his eyes stop moving. Actually stop. His expression freezes mid-reaction, like whatever he expected to see. "Wasn't this..." "What is that?" he asks, but there's something new in his voice. Not arrogance. Uncertainty. Marcus doesn't answer him. He looks at my father. Victor Vargas doesn't react immediately. He studies the screen longer than Daniel did, long enough that the silence stretches thin. Then he leans back slowly. Controlled. Too controlled. Internal documents don't override filed ownership, he says. Marcus nods once, like he expected that exact response. "You're right," he says calmly. "If that's what this was..." He taps the screen again. Good thing it isn't. I feel my pulse in my throat now. Not panic anticipation, because whatever Marcus is showing them, it's not something simple. It's not just paperwork. It's something they didn't plan for. Daniel scoffs, but it's weaker this time. You're trying really hard to sound important. Just say what you think you found. Marcus finally shifts his attention to him. I didn't find it, he says. I helped put it in place. That lands differently. Daniel frowns. Put what in place? Marcus doesn't respond right away. Instead, he reaches forward and slides the documents my father brought closer to himself. He flips to the transfer page, runs his finger down the section labeled Controlling Ownership Authorization. Then he taps it lightly. This section, he says, is where you made your assumption. My father's eyes narrow slightly. It's not an assumption. It's documented authority. Marcus tilts his head. Documented? Based on what? No one answers. Because now there's a gap. A small one, but it's there. And Marcus steps right into it. You believed Elena held direct, transferable majority ownership, he continues. Which means you believed under certain conditions you could execute a transfer on her behalf. That's exactly what happened, my father says firmly. Marcus gives a small nod. That's what you thought happened. Daniel exhales sharply, pushing his chair back an inch. This is getting ridiculous. The filings are approved. The registry accepted them. That's all that matters. Marcus looks at him, and for the first time, there's something almost cold in his expression. Approval doesn't mean validity, he says. It means no one caught the problem yet. The word yet hangs in the air. Heavy, uncomfortable. I finally lean forward. Marcus. He glances at me briefly, not dismissing, just steady. Just give me a second, he says quietly. That alone tells me everything. He's not guessing. He's not hoping. He knows. My father shifts in his seat, the first real sign of irritation breaking through. If you have something to say, say it. Otherwise, this meeting is over. Marcus smiles slightly. No, he says. It's just getting started. He taps the screen again, and this time he turns it just enough that I can see it too. At first, it looks like a standard legal interface, but then I recognize the structure, not the company registry. Something else. Something more restrictive. Wait, I whisper, leaning closer. My eyes scan the header, and then it hits me. Not fully, but enough. Marcus watches me recognize it. Yeah, he says softly. That one. Daniel looks between us, irritation spiking again. Can someone explain what I'm supposed to be looking at? Marcus straightens. This, he says, tapping the top of the screen, is the current controlling entity of the company. Daniel laughs once, sharp. That's not possible. I'm the controlling owner now. Marcus doesn't even look at him. No, he says. You filed paperwork claiming that. He pauses, then adds, but the company doesn't belong to Elena the way you think it does. Silence, real silence this time. Because now even my father doesn't interrupt, doesn't correct him, doesn't dismiss it. Because this is the part they didn't anticipate. I feel my chest tighten as pieces start aligning in my head. Fragments of conversations. Late night discussions. Marcus insisting on future-proofing. Me pushing back because it felt unnecessary. Too complicated. Too extreme. And then finally agreeing. Just to settle the argument. I look at him now. Something between disbelief and realization settling in. What did we do? I ask quietly. Marcus doesn't answer me directly. Not yet. Instead, he looks back at my father, and his voice drops just slightly. You transferred something you never actually had control over, he says. Daniel shakes his head immediately. That doesn't even make sense. Marcus finally turns to him. It will, he says. Then he lifts the phone again, scrolls once, and stops on a section neither of them has seen before. You said it was done, Marcus continues calmly. He tilts the screen forward. Then explain why this still says otherwise. My father leans forward this time, not controlled anymore. Focused, sharp, his eyes lock onto the screen. And for the first time since this started, his expression changes. Not irritation, not authority, recognition, and something dangerously close to concern. Where did you get that? He asks. That's the moment everything starts to unravel. Not all at once, but enough that you can't pretend it isn't happening anymore. My father doesn't look away from the screen. Where did you get that? He asks again, slower this time, like the answer matters more than anything Marcus has said so far. Marcus doesn't hesitate. You're asking the wrong question, he replies. You should be asking why it exists. Daniel lets out a frustrated breath, pushing himself up halfway out of the chair before dropping back down. This is insane. It's some internal filing or whatever he's trying to confuse us. No, Marcus says, still calm. I'm trying to show you something very simple. He taps the screen again. Ownership, he continues, isn't just about whose name is on the company. It's about what entity actually holds controlling interest. My father finally leans closer, eyes narrowing as he scans the details again. And I see it. That shift, that moment when someone realizes they missed something, not small, but structural. You restructured, he says quietly. It's not a question. Marcus nods once. Months ago. The words settle into the room like a slow-moving shockwave. Daniel turns to me immediately. What is he talking about? I don't answer, because now it's coming back. Not all at once, but in pieces. Late nights at the dining table. Marcus explaining things I barely had the energy to process after 14-hour days. It's not about trust, he said back then. It's about protection. I remember pushing back. From who? And the look he gave me, not accusing, not dramatic, just certain. Anyone who thinks they're entitled to what you built. I swallow hard, my eyes flicking back to the screen. You moved the shares, my father says, sharper now, without informing the board. There was nothing to inform, Marcus replies. It didn't require a vote. That's not how ownership works. That's exactly how it works when you stop thinking in terms of individuals. Daniel shakes his head, clearly lost now. Can someone explain what the hell is happening? Marcus finally turns fully toward him. Elena doesn't personally hold controlling ownership anymore, he says. Daniel blinks. That makes no sense. Then who does? Marcus holds his gaze. A trust. Silence. Not confusion this time. Impact. Because even Daniel understands enough to know that changes everything. My father straightens slowly, his expression hardening again, but it's different now. Less certain, more calculated. What kind of trust? He asks. Marcus doesn't rush the answer. A protected structure, he says. One that requires direct authorization from the controlling party and independent verification before any transfer can be recognized. Daniel lets out a short, disbelieving laugh. Okay, so what? She still controls it. He still signed on her behalf. Marcus looks at him. No, he says. That's the part you didn't understand. He taps the screen again, highlighting a specific clause. Control doesn't mean proxy authority. Daniel's face tightens. Speak English. It means, Marcus says, his voice steady, no one can act for her. Not even with assumed authority. Not without triggering verification. I feel my chest tighten again, not from fear this time, but from clarity. Because now I see it. The argument we had, the one I almost walked away from. It's excessive, I told him. It's necessary, he replied. And now it's the only thing standing between me and losing everything. My father exhales slowly, his composure slipping just enough to show the pressure underneath. You're saying the transfer isn't valid, he says. Marcus meets his eyes. I'm saying it was never possible. Daniel shakes his head immediately. That's not true. The registry accepted it. Marcus nods. Because you submitted it under false assumptions. The word false lands harder than anything else so far. That's a serious accusation, my father says. It's a factual one. Silence again. Heavy. Because now we're past disagreement. This is something else. Something with consequences. What happens next? I ask quietly. Marcus finally turns to me fully. And for the first time, there's no restraint in his answer. It gets flagged, he says. Reviewed. He pauses, then adds, and depending on how it's interpreted, investigated. Daniel's face drains slightly. Investigated? For what? Marcus doesn't soften it. For attempting to transfer control of an entity you didn't have legal authority over, he says. Using documentation that implies you did. My father's voice cuts in sharper now. That's not fraud. Marcus holds his gaze. It can be. The word sits there, unavoidable. Daniel looks between us, the confidence he walked in with completely gone now. Okay, so fix it, reverse it. Whatever needs to happen, just do it. Marcus doesn't respond immediately. And that silence is worse than anything he's said so far. Because it feels final. Marcus, I say, my voice lower now, more focused. Can it just be reversed? He looks at me, really looks this time. And there's something in his expression that tells me this didn't stop at protection. This went further. It's not that simple, he says. My father's eyes narrow. Why not? Marcus slowly lifts the phone again, scrolls one last time, and then stops. Because the moment you filed those documents, he says quietly, you didn't just fail to transfer ownership. He turns the screen fully toward all of us. You triggered something you can't quietly undo. No one speaks. Not immediately. Because whatever Marcus just showed us, it doesn't feel like a warning. It feels like a line that's already been crossed. My father is the first to move. He leans forward again, slower this time, his eyes scanning the screen with a level of focus I've never seen directed at me or anything I've built. Explain it, he says. No authority left in his tone now. Just demand mixed with something tighter underneath. Marcus nods once. All right. He sets the phone down flat on the table so everyone can see it clearly. This structure, he begins, tapping the screen lightly, is a protected trust. It holds the controlling interest in Elena's company. Daniel runs a hand through his hair, visibly agitated. You already said that. So what? She still owns it. Marcus shakes his head. She benefits from it, he corrects. She directs it, but she doesn't personally hold the shares anymore. I feel that settle in my chest again, solid now. Not abstract, not distant, real. Marcus continues, his tone steady, almost clinical. That distinction matters because it removes any assumed authority. No one can act on her behalf, not through family ties, not through legacy claims, not through internal influence. My father's jaw tightens. Get to the point. Marcus doesn't react to the tone. The point is this, he says. When you filed those transfer documents, you declared that you had the authority to move controlling ownership from Elena to Daniel. He pauses just long enough, but Elena wasn't the controlling owner anymore. Silent. Absolute. Daniel stares at the screen like it might change if he looks long enough. Then who approved it? He asks. The registry doesn't just accept random filings. They accepted what was submitted, Marcus replies. They don't verify underlying authority unless something flags it. My father exhales sharply, and you're saying it's flagged. Marcus meets his eyes. I'm saying it triggered an automatic review the second the filing conflicted with the trust structure. That's it. That's the moment it lands fully. Not just a mistake, not just invalid paperwork, a triggered system. What kind of review? My father asks, quieter now. Marcus doesn't soften it. The kind that checks for misrepresentation of authority, he says. The kind that looks at intent, Daniel's voice cracks slightly. Intent for what? Marcus answers without hesitation. For fraud. The word sits heavier than anything else in the room. I watch it hit them, really hit them this time. Daniel leans back, shaking his head. No. This was a family decision. You can't call that fraud. Marcus's expression doesn't change. It stops being a family matter the moment you file it as a legal transfer, he says. My father stands up abruptly. This is being exaggerated, he says sharply. At worst, it's an administrative error. Marcus looks up at him, calm. Then it should be easy to explain during the review. That stops him. Not completely, but enough. Because now there's something he can't control. A process already moving. You said it can't be undone quietly, I say, my voice steady again. What does that mean exactly? Marcus turns to me. It means the filing is already logged, time-stamped, and flagged against the trust restrictions, he says. Any attempt to withdraw or alter it now becomes part of the record. I nod slowly. So whatever happens next is on record. Yes. Daniel lets out a low curse under his breath. This is insane. We were just trying to fix things, stabilize the company. I look at him then, really look at him. You were trying to take it, I say. He opens his mouth, but nothing comes out, because there's nothing left to justify. My father finally speaks again, but his voice is different now, less controlled, more calculated. What are the actual consequences, he asks. Marcus doesn't rush the answer. Best case, he says, the transfer is voided. You're formally warned. It stays internal. And worst? Marcus holds his gaze. It escalates, he says. Regulatory review, civil liability, potential fraud charges depending on how intent is interpreted. Daniel goes pale. That's not going to happen, he says quickly. There was no intent. Marcus doesn't argue. He just says, that's not up to you anymore. Silence again. But this time, it's different. Not tense. Settled. Because the outcome isn't being decided in this room anymore. It's already in motion. I push my chair back slowly and stand. Both of them look at me. For the first time since this started, not as someone beneath, but as the one thing they miscalculated. You didn't lose control of my company today, I say, my voice even. I hold my father's gaze. You never had it. He doesn't respond, doesn't argue, because now he can't. Daniel looks between us, still searching for something to hold on to. Elena, come on. We can fix this. We'll talk to someone. No. I cut in, and that's the end of it. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just final weeks later. The office feels different. Not because the company changed, but because I did. The glass walls still have my name on them. The team still moves the same way outside. Meetings still happen. Deals still close. But there's a clarity now, a boundary that didn't exist before. The review went exactly how Marcus said it would. The transfer was voided immediately, flagged as unauthorized. From there, it didn't stay quiet. Questions were asked. Documents were examined. Intent was scrutinized. In the end, it didn't escalate to criminal charges, but it came close enough that the message was clear. My father's reputation took the hit. Not publicly explosive, but in the circles that matter, it spread. Quietly, permanently. Daniel? He disappeared from anything connected to the company within days. No role. No access. No influence. Just removed. As if he was never part of it to begin with. Final moment. I sit at my desk. A new document open in front of me. Governance update. Final protections. Permanent. Marcus stands beside me, reviewing silently. Not interfering, not leading. Just there. I sign the last page. Slide it forward. Done. No more access. No more assumptions. No more room for anyone to decide what belongs to me. I lean back slightly, letting the weight of it settle. Not relief, not victory. Something quieter, certain. They really thought being the only son made him the heir. I say, Marcus glances at me. I close the folder, and they forgot. I add calmly. I was the one who built it.
If you were her, would you forgive them or make sure they never touch it again?